On the April 26, 1986, the largest accident in the history of nuclear industry occurred at the fourth power unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The explosion killed 3,000 people. More than 600,000 received different cancers. In some places, the level of radiation pollution was thousands of times higher than the standard background radiation. It became clear that after the explosion, there will be a different world here. Lands where you can sow, rivers in which you can fish, and houses in which you can live. Now imagine, you were sent on a time machine 2 weeks before the disaster. What would you do? Of course, the answer of many will probably be I would start to massively purchase bitcoins or something like that. But let's think that we set a goal to prevent the explosion at a nuclear power plant. When I first asked myself this question, first thought that came to my mind was I would just turn off the power plant and nothing would happen. However, this would be the worst solution of this problem, since my narrow-mindedness turn off the lights in the whole city, and I would probably be shot for this. So after sitting on the forums and reading different articles by various scientists, I grew wiser and saw more logical methods to prevent an accident. I will start by saying that in order to give the correct answer to this question, it's necessary to fully analyze the causes of the explosion and give possible ways of solving them. There is a lot of causes actually, so I will focus on two main ones. One of the reasons for the explosion is that having seen incredible power in a new source, people, without fully exploring the atomic energy, began to use it. You may remember that the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was one of the earliest nuclear power plants in the CIA. It was simply impossible for designer of the building to predict the kind of operation that arose at the Chernobyl NPP. In general, in that time, this kind of situation could happen with any reactor in any country. Nuclear energy were too new and unexplored, and therefore were very dangerous to use. To solve this problem, the user of Yandex.Q application Nikolai Vodohodov suggested an obvious solution, just to postpone the construction of reactor. If this reactor had been built in our time, then such a catastrophe wouldn't have happened, because in Nikolai's words, unlike that time, all possible effects have been studied, and the approach to safety, design, and operation is as conservative as possible. In the 21st century, people almost completely learned how to work with atomic energy. In Russia alone, according to the service UnitedRussia.ru, 10 more functional and safe nuclear power plants are going to be built by 2030. Of course, you may say that it's all because Chernobyl accident, after which people became more cautious with such type of energy, and I can't disagree with this. However, as French writer Honoré de Balzac said, everything comes in its own time for those who know how to wait. The next reasons for the explosion is negligent attitude of power plant workers to their tasks. Many of you have seen series Chernobyl exclusion zone, which showed footage where the staff deviated from the rules and began to commit a bunch of gross violations. Of course, they didn't play games there. Scientists tested new opportunities on new source of energy, and in general, it's all for sake of science. But firstly, they did it next to a densely populated city, and secondly, they did it with uranium, Carl, with the materials that used to make bombs. To solve this problem, it was necessary to establish strict control over the staff, namely over their attitude to duties and rules. Attach people to ensure that the personnel properly maintain of the operation of the reactor. It's not so difficult to do, but I think it may prevent the accident and its consequences. The explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was one of the largest in the history of the peaceful atom, which could have been avoided just by delaying the construction of the reactor and establishing control over the personnel. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that this is all that needed to be done, because as I said earlier, there is a lot of reasons of there there is a lot of reasons for the explosion. But I think these actions must be enough. Nevertheless, this catastrophe has already happened, and we no longer have the opportunity to change it. All we can do is learn from the situation and just move on. Each fall is a chance to fly higher. Thanks for your attention.